Hey everybody, it's 13 with Superior Mobile ByThirteen, and this is the build that I just completed today. And if you're thinking that they look a little bit familiar, that's possibly because you may have seen the fact that I've done one of these builds before. These are the upper lights on the 2018 to 2021 Hyundai Kona. Now I have an EV Kona, however, they are the same lights that are on the internal combustion version as well. So they're very popular, very mainstream, and very cheap. However, these lights are not off of a Kona. They're off of the Valarra, which is a kit car based off of the Corvette C6 platform. So we're taking an expensive car to start, and then we're throwing an expensive body kit on it in order to make it look fancy, and we are absolutely sacrificing lighting performance. How expensive, you wonder? Well, the last time this website was updated was in 2021, which is 4 years ago, and it started at $18,000 back then. Now, I don't want to talk smack here, but I will say this, it hits a very personal note for me because Mateo Concepts is in Pinellas Park, which is on my commute home, and I have been there about 3 to 4 years ago because I met with this owner, Matt, specifically regarding his absolute trash headlights that were on the Vader body kit car, which was based off of the G35 platform, and he was using Chevy Cruze headlights with halogen projectors on that vehicle. We had a sit-down meeting because I was regarded as the lighting professional in the area, and he was discussing about the options for doing upgraded lights on that car, which was a very expensive kit car. And when I told him it would cost about $1,000 on a production scale in order to create those lights, he laughed and he goes, absolutely not, I need it closer to $250. And I said, that's not gonna happen. So here we are, fast forward a couple years later, he's moved on to another platform from the Vader to the Valarra. So now instead of a G35, he's using a Corvette C6. And yet again, he has fallen to the exact same folly of not using headlights on his kit cars. Phrases like his attention to detail and forward thinking makes his car second to none really upset me when you do not consider the fact that you cannot drive your kit cars at night safely and legally. These DRL assemblies are parking lights. They are not headlights. So when you buy this Valarra kit, you need to understand that you do not have headlights on your Corvette anymore. That to me is absolutely unacceptable. However, having said all of that, it brings us back to the build that I just completed here. I just got off the phone with Steve over at Next Level Neo, who is another reputable builder and parts supplier, and he's actually done a retrofit on these headlights before and swore up and down he would never do it again. He did a mini 2.5-inch projector in that turn signal location and then also replaced all of the DRL LEDs in there to act as turn signal. This particular client sent me these, and what he had done by somebody else, he politely refers to as a retrofit, and I would call it an absolute hack job, are these little LED bulbs that have a driver and this amazing sort of electrical work here that I cannot even begin to explain how much pain this causes me, with these plugs that were literally hot glued into place. Are you kidding me, people? And this bulb just pops right out, and this is considered a projector assembly, which is basically a low beam and a high beam all in one, and I assure you this is trash output. Granted, if you have absolutely no headlights, this is better than nothing, so I cannot fault the customer for doing this, but the solution itself is garbage, the problem itself is garbage, and the implementation of the solution is garbage, in my humble opinion, of course. Speaking of garbage, you remember how I said that these were readily available common housings? So sure, the OEM Hyundai housings are around $350 a pop. You can find them used in great condition all over eBay for about $100 to $200 each. And TYC, an aftermarket lights manufacturer, actually makes these things for $170 each, brand new, high quality aftermarket. These, on the other hand, I cannot even imagine where these things came from. As per my experience talking with him over the G35 Vader platform, it was very clear that he did not care about lighting performance and he was much more interested in bottom line pricing, thus using aftermarket Chevy Cruze headlights on those. And now these, no name, I mean like no manufacturer brand anywhere on this housing. It was the absolute worst housing I've ever opened and disassembled. The internal parts were literally hot glued together. None of them fit right. They had locking tabs that did not align, and the housing itself had about 9 brad nails holding it together. So when I took them apart, the outer shell literally didn't fit back together with the bucket. That's just absolute sloppy tolerances, which means that he was going for the absolute bottom of the barrel, cheapest product that he could find that would fit his design. And listen, props to him because he's running an amazing business down there, doing something really incredible, making kit cars and making body kits and selling them to the public. That's a big accomplishment, something that I could certainly not do. But having such a drastic oversight like no forward lighting, not taking into account a bare minimum safety factor on multiple platforms, I find very inexcusable. Especially when you have one of the country's premier headlight builders literally 30-minute drive away from you. Dude, come on. But I think it's a reasonable expectation that after you spend tens of thousands of dollars on a body kit, that you can still drive at night. Now, for whatever reason on this headlight, this wiring is even worse and more atrocious, and this was just fully exposed, but it did give me the opportunity to hook up my power supply to it so we can test out the lighting and actually see what the headlight output is like. Keep in mind, this is now his low beam, and this client paid money to have somebody install that, and this is the output on the wall. Now, if you've ever seen my output videos before, you'll know that this is absolute trash. Like, I can barely see it. It is daytime, but I will say this, it's more light than no light, but there's just nothing to the bottom left of the step. The hot spot is very much at the top of that step, and that's not where you want your hot spot to be. So what that means is you're getting a lot of light in this general area, which is just off to the side, and where you need the light is actually over here because this is where the road illumination is. Apparently, it's probably the best solution out there, but my final and most important complaint about this particular system is there's absolutely no way to adjust it. There is no vertical or horizontal adjustment on this set. It's literally just a bulb that is glued into place in these housings. So even with this solution, you still do not have a proper DOT approved, street legal headlight output for this kit car, which fundamentally just upsets me because I am very passionate about creating proper lighting products. And it is unfair to the consumer population who spends a bunch of money on things and they get misled into thinking that a cool looking car is going to also be able to do the basic functionality that you would expect out of a vehicle, which is to be able to see at night and not get pulled over for not having headlights. As a fun side note, those are the Volvo taillights that are just mounted sideways. Okay, now that I'm done insulting and complaining all of this work, let me talk about what I actually did on this build. So the original concern was that because the client had that bulb retrofitted into the turn signal location, he now no longer had turn signals. Out of the pot into the fire, so to speak. So I replaced the original DRL board with UCS LEDs, so we're gonna have both a parking light now and also turn signals. And obviously I've gloss black painted the entire interior, and it looks pretty stunning, although I will admit I do not like black on black on black interior paint jobs because you lose all of the definition and the unique styling that came with the housings originally. Now these RGBW strips are going to be controlled via the BlueGhozt, and just another hilarious side note about Corvette owners, for some reason they just never like to pay full price. Can't really say why, and I don't like to stereotype vehicle owners, but Corvette people and I just tend not to see eye to eye, so he opted to do something that I explicitly said I would not do, which was to not pot this unit. So I can't warranty this because it is no longer waterproof. BlueGhozt modules need to be potted. It's an exposed circuit board, and it's just going to be exposed to corrosive air elements and water, and so it's going to fail over time, but apparently that's not my problem because he wanted to save $100 on the potting. But I did say I was gonna stop complaining, and this is definitely the whiniest video I've ever made, so let's start showing off the cool features of the BlueGhozt setup in this particular housing arrangement. Number one, we're gonna have a startup and shut down animation. So that is the scan sweep one, so that is basically tapped into a parking light and it's gonna do that, or it can be tapped into an ignition circuit, and every time he turns on and off the car, it would act that way. A less popular animation, but looks pretty cool on this one, is called Stair Step, where it'll just fill in like that, and then when you turn off, it'll just step away like so. And of course, there's all of the other ones like Rainbow Road, and then that one would be Rainbowy Way. But again, the main feature that we wanted here were turn signals, and so now it's going to do a sequential turn signal, or it can do a basic turn signal, but that is a turn signal animation. This is what basic looks like. It is just on and off. This one is called Bounce, where it goes out and back. That one's pretty cool. And Rollout is another cool option where it goes solid and then rolls out to the end. That's actually the one that I have on my car because that is still a turn signal bulb, so it all comes on together and then rolls out. So at the end of the day, this client is going to have a parking light DRL going on up there. He's going to have his low beam and high beam headlight in there, although it is debatable whether or not we'll even call that a headlight. And then he's going to have integrated turn signals that he can program via the BlueGhozt. And of course, it's now completely blacked out, which was his request aesthetically speaking. So he's gonna get everything that he wanted. Unfortunately, it's in a super crappy housing, and the BlueGhozt is gonna potentially fail in the next couple of years because it isn't potted. And he shouldn't have had to do any of this because he spent tens of thousands of dollars on this body kit to put him in this position to begin with, but that's Corvette owner logic for you. So I've done my job and I'm at least pleased with my work, although I'm certainly displeased with this project as a whole, and I certainly don't see myself doing any more of these in the near future, especially after talking all that smack in this video. But I like doing custom headlight builds and I like doing proper lighting and professional caliber work, and at least on my small touch and impact on this build, that's what I've delivered. So pricing and product information for this build will be in the video description. All of my builds are custom made to order, so pricing varies widely depending on the options selected. If you're interested in a build for yourself, submit a build request via the form on the website. The link to that will also be in the video description. If you made it this long into the video, I'm really impressed and I'm very grateful. Sorry I was a little negative Nancy on this one. That's not normally my style. I'm just real passionate about what I do. This is 13 with Superior Mobile by 13. Again, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye!